Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and today I'm excited to share Stampin' Up's brand new Stampin' Hot Foil system. And the very first project that I have put together, it's a very simple card, but it uses the bundle that I chose to be my top choice from the options that are available currently. I'm hoping I get a lot of people hopping on, but in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and flip my camera. I'll pop back on at the end. Hopefully I've got some questions and comments. If you're catching this either on my YouTube channel afterwards, or you are catching this on a recording, and you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear what you think. Maybe you've already ordered, and kind of just to see kind of if you're excited and if you're, just all those things. And then, of course, I always love to see what you create with my either layout, or if you've chosen to get the system, when you do, what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that camera so we can get things on a hands camera. The system, and I'm going to go ahead and just show it quickly so that then I can go plug it in. I'm not going to get all the parts and pieces necessarily, but what comes in the Stampin' Hot Foil system is you get the machine, which comes with a charge cable that plugs in. It is suggested not to use it on extension cords. And so directly into your outlet, which is why I'm not plugging it in on my recording desk, because I only use a 4-plex plug. So it comes with this. It comes with the silicone mat, which this sits on, because this part, when it's plugged in, gets hot. And so you want to keep it onto that mat. You have another little cooling mat that's also silicone that comes with. You'll get your hot foil shim and your hot foil spacer plates. Those come in the system. You'll also get a pickup tool that's magnetic that allows you to move the hot die from here onto the cooling mat once you're done applying your hot foil. And then, of course, your instructions. And I'm going to tell you that your instructions are invaluable. I am finding, especially right now as I'm stepping through and learning the system, you want to follow it step by step. And there's no reason to rush. You really do have time as you're going through the different steps on the two-sided pieces of the instructions. Definitely worth every ounce of information you will find here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause myself just for a moment and go plug this in. It takes about 6 minutes for it to heat up. And I apologize for the mic drop. Just kind of how that works. So what I've done is I have followed number 1, which is to place my hot foil platform on that station and then to plug it in. And then I have hit the white button, timer button, that will flash then. And in about 6 minutes, it'll beep again and let me know that I can move on. So what I'm going to show you at this point, I've got something Stampin' Up gave, kind of step by step, and all the different available options at the moment. I'll see if I can't get this posted onto the comment section, but it's definitely invaluable. But you can find all of this information under the Hot Foil tab on my website, justalittleink.stampinup.net. It'll take you to my ordering store, where you can order 24/7. But I want to share with you the hot foil dies that I am going to choose to use. And I opted for the bundle This is the Butterfly Flight hot foil dies. They show you on the front in the black, these are the things that cut. And then in gold, they'll show you the things that hot foil. And that's true for all of our dies going forward. And yes, there will be more dies going forward. And so, to show you the difference, it's really hard to see, but there's a different feel, let alone a different look. The hot foil dies are more satin, and they definitely are smoother. They're not rough on the edge like our die cuts are. And then, but that's the portion. And they do not come on magnetic sheets. That's something I do with my own dies to just organize. I find it's easier than pulling them on and off of the tape. But they come on cardstock with double-sided sticky tape that holds them. That's how they come. But you'll notice a difference, and they're very flat and smooth on the back. This is the portion that we'll end up using to die or to hot foil. And then the bundle came with masks, which I will show you how I use them and the colors that I'm going to use. And they're numbered, they have notches. All of our stencils come this way. And so to share with you on that end of things, definitely. The other part you will buy these separate, you'll need our foil, and they come in right now 3 different colors: silver, gold, and pink. And there's 2 rolls in a bundle or in a box, and you will pull out and cut with your paper trimmer just the section of paper that you need. I did a section, I believe this is about 4 inches by 5, because that's all I need. And then I'm holding on to this because I'm wondering if the relief, at some point Stampin' Up's going to come up with an option for how we could use these portions on projects. And so right now I'm keeping it. Plus I think you could use the smaller parts for other pieces and utilize all of your foil. And it should last quite some time, but those are sold individually in 2 packs, just so you're aware. And then, a kind of a tip. You can apply hot foil onto any cardstock, but the suggestion is to use the two-tone cardstock, because two-tone is smoother than, it doesn't have as much fiber into it than our traditional 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12 cardstock. And so our two-tone cardstock, I'm going to be using, I'll kind of pull out what I'm going to use. I have cut a card base, crisp cantaloupe, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle of 4 1/4. I did already cut a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of two-tone cantaloupe crisp cantaloupe, twist it around. And again, you'll kind of note that the two tones just slightly different in color. I like the lightness of it, but I like the lightness and the weight as well. And I find it really does emboss really well. And I've already previously embossed with the Fern and Flora 3D embossing folder. I already ran it through. And so I have that ready to go as my backdrop. And then I cut a piece, again, I said about 4 inches by 5 of hydrangea hue, and I'm going to use the light side to foil onto. And then again, the same size piece of silver foil, and I will hold those apart and put them when my machine is ready to go. And then I cut a piece for the inside, 4 by 5 1/4 of basic white. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of go, we may pause as we get going and my machine is more ready, but I have already done one. I want to show the process, and so I'm hopeful that I can do that. So I'm going to set these things kind of aside for the moment, but I've already done one, and you can see, isn't that just beautiful how it just reflects the light? It's smooth. And if you are going to die cut these now, you would go ahead and do so if you wanted it without any coloring. But if you're going to use the masks and do some coloring with the masks, you're going to want to wait to die cut. So you're going to foil first, and then color and then die cut. And you certainly could choose to color in different ways. I have not played with that yet, but I think you could certainly do that. I am using a product I picked off of Amazon. Oh, but you know what? Here we are. My machine is ready, so we will get it going. Okay, so I have placed my die onto my hot foil system platform, and I have hit the white button, and I am waiting now for a secondary beep to let me know that it is now hot and ready for me to apply my foil. So at this point, I'm going to come back into here. So I have a sticky mat, I think, what did I find? It's on Amazon, and I will put a link in my comments. It is a stick and stamp mat, and it's a low-tack mat that has a cover sheet to keep this portion sticky. And I just found when I'm using the masks, it does a really great job of keeping everything from shifting around. And so don't often use what I would refer to as contraband product, but in this case, I do find it's quite helpful. So, and it has portions in here to place my cardstock. And so I had told you that our masks come with numbers. I don't know how well you can see them in the camera, but they're up here underneath this little notch, which you can kind of see here. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to find where it lines up with up there, my machine's ready. We're going to go ahead and get this portion ready, and then we will get that hot foil going. I want to make sure that I've got it kind of in the grid, and this is true for all of our masks. You get them lined up, and then I have a tip that I use. Not everyone may do it, but it's what I choose to do. I take a sticky note, and I find that notch, and I put my sticky note kind of as a reference point. And that's my tip with the masks, no matter which ones you're using, that then I know where to help line up for the next time. So let me go ahead and put my foil on. Set this out of the way. I've got everything ready, and because I'm trying to finger it, I'm hoping I'm not shimming or shifting my shims around, but I may be. So this may turn out not as well as I hope. But what I've got is I've got my hot foil and this warm, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And it's important that you use our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine with this system. Stampin' Up! Does not guarantee the warranty if you use it with a different system. So that's just worth noting. The other thing to note is you're going to move very slowly through your system when you're cutting. Well, not cutting in this case, you're rolling your foil, and so you don't want to go very fast, which is, for me, it's a challenge because I'm used to pushing this through really, really fast. But you want enough time for those rollers to press across the hot plate. So I'm going to come across. Okay. set this out of the way. I'm going to come back with the paper, which is a challenge to do all of this, but okay, so I had then put my system back on the mat so that it's cooling, and then I took my pickup tool, my magnetic pickup tool, and moved my die onto the cooling mat. And so this portion is what came out. And to show you then, you'll slowly peel. And it's just magic of what you end up with. Pretty cool, huh? So I will set this up out of the way, and we will go back to what we were working on. So I have my mask onto my foiled piece of cardstock, and I'm going to start with Hydrangea Hue ink in my number 1. And so I'm going to go ahead. Remember, Hydrangea Hue is our brand new in color for this year and next year. And so I'm going to, it's a linen-based pad. So I'm going to use my small blending brush. You could use larger blending brushes. I like the small ones. And I'm going to start inking into these sections. I'm going to go a little lighter this time around than I did on the finished sample that I had done. And I'm going to come again and keep scratch paper just so I can tap a little bit. But you can be as hard or as light in your coloring as you want when you're doing masking. But it's just a great way to get a very professional look for coloring on these with using the masks, where if you're a great artist, then you probably don't need it, but it can make you look pretty stunning with very little effort. So I'm going to set my blending brush aside because I won't need that one. So then I'll pull off number 1, okay? And we'll get ready for number 2. Let's see if I didn't lose everything. I didn't lose everything. Here we go. So here's my number 2 mask, and put my ink away for this color because I'm not going to be using Hydrangea Hue after the first time. The second color I'm going to use on my number 2 mask is Calypso Coral. So my lineup, remember my tip was that I'm going to use that notch, and my point of my Post-it note, get my head in the camera just a teeny bit, to line that up, and then I'm going to use it to kind of adjust. You can come up and down a little bit if you need to. I want to make sure I've got everything kind of lined up within the foil portion. Up just a little higher. And take your time with this part, because I can share with you one that's didn't line up as well. And honestly, you can't really go too wrong, but you can get off. And then when you're ready, the beauty of this sticky and stamp mat is it holds everything from flying around and getting out of line. So then I've got another small Stampin' or blending brush, and this is a firm foam pad, so it's going to hold ink a little differently. And again, I'm going to come in, I'm going to try to do a little lighter again than I had done in the final sample I will share with you. just to see what difference it kind of gives me. And I find I have a little more control of my pointer finger is on that, the pad of or the back side of the pad. And so really it's a matter of how much ink do you want to transfer when you're blending. But with the stencils, this is really the preferred way of doing. Okay, a little more over here. Tap a little and go here. I'm excited for kind of what the foiling system will do. I know it's not, there are other foiling systems on the market, and Stampin' Up! Is the first to have this one. This is not a Stampin' Up! Exclusive. It is a coordination with another company, but Stampin' Up! Is the first to have this particular system, and it is branded with our logo on this one for our use and what we'll be selling. But all of our dies are exclusive to Stampin' Up! Let's see. And as I believe Stampin' Up! Does an excellent job of doing, the coordination between everything, having dies that both foil and cut out, and have complementary dies, because this one does, is pretty stunning. Okay, so now I'm ready for my number 3. This one, I'm only using 3 masks for this particular project, because the 4th mask, there is a 4th mask, is the bodies of the butterflies. So again, I'm going to line up that notch with my corner of my yep. There we go. Have to swing it around to get it in just the right places. And sometimes, there we go. Kind of just making sure with visually it looks like I want it to. And again, the sticky will hold everything. I'm going to put this ink pad away. My final color that I'm going to use is Secret C. And again, it is a firm foam ink pad. And I'm going to use a 3rd blending brush. Again, a small blending brush. And I'm going to come in, and this is going to be my final colors as I come across. And again, you can choose to go as light or as dark. I want to make sure this is a little darker than I did on the first 2 blendings, just because I want that Secret C to really shine. And you just get a lot of layers, and I just think it's going to be a fun set. I did not mention when I was talking about the system that Stampin' Up! Is offering for all purchases, I believe it's until the beginning of January. I will verify the date for that. But that purchases of the hot foil system right now come with a free Stampin' class. It's going to actually air here in a couple weeks, but it'll be available on an exclusive Facebook page later. It's a $30 value that you get for free when you order right now, and that's a great value. And they step through some great projects. I will tell you that this Butterfly Flight happens to be one of the sets that they are using in that class, but there's some great tips and techniques that they're going to be sharing that Stampin' Up's been doing a great job with their stamp classes. So I'm done with all of this. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off, and we'll get my mask off, and then we'll get this out of the way. So, and the other thing I liked about these is that everything just peels off and doesn't leave sticky residue or anything else. So I'm going to stick my cover sheet if I can find it. Back on there. We may not. Okay, so at this point, see how pretty that is? You're like a professional artist when you color these with those masks. And so then you could use the coordinating die. You would line it up if, like you do all of ours. I would use some Post-it tape because for me that's what I'd prefer. You're going to layer it onto your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and run it through. And when you do, because I already did that, I'm going to line this up and get it out of the way. When you do that, you will end up with, let's grab all the parts I told you about earlier. You will end up with butterflies. And so you can choose to use 1, 2, 3. I like odd numbers. I'm going to use all 5 on my card. And so I'm going to fold my card in half along that score line. And grab my button folder here. And we'll go ahead and get my embossed piece down. I'm just going to use some liquid glue. Again, I had used the light side to show front. You could do either way. What I like about using two-tone cardstock is that it's a lot lighter for mailing than when you layer a lot of layers with our regular cardstock, which is a heavier weight. I prefer that with card bases, but I find that with layering the two-tone, not only does it give you variations with color, and if you look really close when you emboss, you'll catch a little of the white core popping through. You can sand that. I've shared that in a previous video. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of adhesive on a white piece for the inside. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and attach just a little in there. That allows me to wiggle it off if I decide to do any other kind of embellishing on the inside, but it gives me an inside piece. So I'm also going to use from the Sincerely Noted Mix and Match Ephemera pack. It was something I had received when I was, well, I didn't get to go because of my father's untimely passing, but Stampin' Up! Does events for demonstrators, and there was one held in Long Beach, California back in March, and this was one of the freebies I got after the fact. And so what's great about our ephemera packs is that they are now sticky. So they are already adhesive on the back. And so I want to choose one and I'm going to stick it on. And I had already chosen I Miss You already, and I like that. I don't think, trying to think, I have that one here. And I could choose that again. Let me look through the rest of them. Let's see if there's one I like. I don't know, what would you choose? I want ones that come straight across. My sincerest, I think that's too pink. Hey There Friend, maybe. You know what? Let's try Hey There Friend. So I think that would actually not be a bad one for this. So I'll set this aside. And again, they have adhesive and they're split in the back so that you can get them off. And what I'm choosing to do is I'm going to layer this, well, if I can get it off on this side, I'm going to layer it on the front. It's already sticky, which makes it so nice. And I want to come, down inch and a half, inch and 3/4, and I'm going to come over into the edge just a little bit. Make sure I'm lined up. And scroll across here. That's great. And then I'm going to play a little differently than I did on the original card. I'll show it to you here. I had done I just put them down with Stampin' Dimensionals, mini dimensionals underneath everywhere. But I found a tip, and I'm going to show you another card I did with the pink foil. But if you will take and just use your fingernail on the front and get it where you're kind of giving a straight section along the body, and do that on at least most of them. Okay, I'm going to do that here. It gives a little bit of flair to those butterflies and makes them look as though they might be flying, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, and then I'm going to tip them over, and I'm going to run a little bead of liquid glue on the back, and it's okay if it dries a little bit before I get to it, but that's where I'm going to hold them down in the center. And then I am going to take dimensionals. We'll just use minis because it's what I have sitting right here. And I want, if I can get them apart, these are wanting not to come apart. Okay, so put one down at the base. You ever feel like you're all thumbs? I'd love to tell you I never do, but I really do often feel like I'm all thumbs. Okay, so, and then I'm going to stick one up here, and I'm going to pull the top backing off because I want that top piece to be doubled up. And so I'm going to go ahead and stick one over here. So on my upper wings, I'm going to double up those dimensionals. Okay, then I set this one aside, and we'll keep doing that same method. On the big ones, I want one on the base as well, those lower wings. On the upper, I'm going to do 2. And then on these smaller ones, I only do 1. I don't need to worry about having ones at the base or lower wings. All right. And set that aside. And then one more that way. I'm excited to see all the different projects that come forward with this new system, and I'm excited to see what will come up with our holiday offerings and if we have anything in those. Is that something you would be excited about? Seems like holidays, Christmas holiday specifically, is something that I am frequently wanting a lot more bling. And I think the foil system would be a great way of getting more bling. So, all right. So I'm going to, on these, well, maybe. Are the backs your nemesis? Some days. All right. Over here. And, well, I think I am. Let me grab 4 more here, and then we should be on our way. All right. I'm certain I'll find those somewhere in my other side of my house. Never fails, those backs travel. If you have pets, they seem to travel with them. All right, so what I did is I started with the larger one because I wanted to place it first. So grab those backs off. We've just multiplied how many of them we're putting down. So I'm going to line up how I want this top butterfly, or this largest butterfly. I'm going to kind of come here. I'm going to push him in the center here. And then by having extra, it lifts up his wings just a little bit. maybe it's a girl, I don't know. Don't know if that, remember my biology classes from high school. Okay. Okay, so, and I want this one to come kind of toward the top. Press in the center here. And I'm going to stick this one kind of up into this section again. I kind of liked the giving it a little more life than the first one I had done. All right. And then coming up here, again, press in the center to get that adhesive, and then the lift with the double dimensionals underneath those top wings. Right, and then this one, I think will kind of come almost straight, but not quite. Press it down in the center to get that adhesive to touch. And so then you just see how that kind of gives a little bit of lift and a little dimension. Still flat enough to mail. Dimensionals certainly do add a little thickness, but with us keeping it pretty thin everywhere else, I think it should travel well. And then I thought it'd be fun. You could use the little, they're on back order, but our in color butterflies would be really pretty, but they kind of blend, and we have so many butterflies already. I'm going to grab from our basic rhinestone basic jewels and just go real simple. So I'm going to grab a medium-sized one. Let's see here. How do we want to do this? Yeah, stick like here, and then let's do some of these smaller ones. I think I'm going to come up, and then we'll do another one. I want at least 3. I don't know, should we do more than 3? Could do 5. We have 5 butterflies. Let's do here. I like to make sure I have odd numbers. So down or over. Let's come up. I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. I like how that looks. Put my cap back on, my take your pick tool. So there's a little bit of a difference where one is just lifted all the way and one that has a lot more dimension, and I think you can see it even in the camera, how that looks. And then I'm going to share with you a card I did using the pink foil. So stunning, and I thought it looked best with dark cardstock, and so I have used Secret C two-tone to adhere, and I did not use any of the masks for this particular project. And then I used a piece of the the coordinating Fern and Flora Designer Series paper on the front instead of doing a textured section to let that stand off, and used one of the stamps from the Fern and Flora bundle on a piece of vellum, and then backed it with a little strip of basic white just to help you see it better. And then on the inside, just again, used a strip of that Designer Series paper, and then these are a couple of those coordinating butterfly dies with the little bodies that can be cut out as well, that come with that foil and die set. And so I don't have the foil portion here because it has been cooling over on the cooling tray, but they're from here and the smaller ones. And so pretty cool. I hope that this is something that you would think about ordering. If you have questions, I will do my best to answer. There's certainly going to be a lot of resources available. And again, if this is something you choose to order in the near future, previous to the beginning of January, and I'm not sure exactly on that date, it does come with a free class that's available on an exclusive Facebook page. And so I think it's a great value. And so with that, I'm hoping that you will comment. I thank you for choosing to subscribe is not the right word. Subscribe if you're my YouTube on my YouTube page. But if you are on my Facebook page, I thank you for your loyalty, and I just look forward to hearing from you. And have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Happy stamping.